Just so you know, I have banned Pride and Prejudice from this challenge. Hello, I'm Tim and I have too many books. This is the 12 Days of Christmas challenge thought up by Lizzie Loves Books. Original video in the description below. The idea here is there are 12 prompts based on the 12 gifts in the song The 12 Days of Christmas. Now, when I first looked at this challenge and looked at the prompts, I noticed about 4 or 5 of them could be answered with the book Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen obviously, and I thought, well, it's probably best if I pick something else, and in fact try not to pick any Jane Austen at all, because it'll give you a little bit more variety. Otherwise it's just going to be favourite book, Jane Austen, yeah, that sort of thing. So hopefully we'll have some different and hopefully fun books to talk about. Now, all of these books I have read, which makes a change from me saying, oh, that looks like an interesting book. I wonder if I'll ever get around to reading it. First prompt for the gift, Partridge in a Pear Tree, is your favourite standalone book. And I've gone for Hangover Square by Patrick Hamilton. I have to say I'm somewhat obsessed by Patrick Hamilton. If you've ever used the phrase gaslighting, you should know all about Patrick Hamilton, and it's likely that you don't. Personally, I think of this as probably the best British novel of the 20th century. The second prompt, based on Two Turtle Doves, is your favourite one true pairing or ship, and that would be Persuasion by Jane Austen, Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth. Obviously there could be another choice, but and I had to cave to do Jane Austen because I couldn't think of any other relationships I really enjoy outside her books. The prompt for Three French Hens is your favourite trilogy. Now, I picked David Lodge's Campus Trilogy, sometimes known as the Rummage Trilogy. This is a series of books, Changing Places, Small World and Nice Work, which are all based in and around a college called Rummage, which is kind of based on Birmingham. I was inspired to pick this trilogy because in one of these books there's a situation that kind of mirrors my problem with Pride and Prejudice for this challenge. A famous author suffers terrible writer's block after an academic who is a fan of his work and is into computers, does a computer analysis of his novels and tells him that his favourite word, the author's favourite word, is grease or greasy or greasily or greased, noun, adjective, verb, adverb. And he thereafter, every time he wants quite naturally to use grease in some form, he just has to stop himself, and it stops him writing entirely. The gift for Calling Birds gives us the prompt, favourite fictional animal or beast. And I've picked Richard Adams' Shardik. This is all about a bear who thinks he's a bear and a group of people who think the bear is a god. It's a very good book, not as well known as Watership Down, which is of course another set of anthropomorphic animals. This isn't quite so anthropomorphic as Watership Down or the later Plague Dogs, but it's still a very, very good read, and I highly recommend it. Now, for 5 golden rings, we were supposed to do a book with gold on the cover, but I deliberately or accidentally misread it and decided to pick 5 books with gold or golden in the title. We start with Ian Fleming's Goldfinger, which does actually have a golden cover. We then go to The Golden Keel by Desmond Bagley, then The Golden Bowl by Henry James, The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing, and The Cup of Gold by John Steinbeck, which is all about Henry Morgan. I slightly cheated again for the gift, Six Geese A-Laying, which gives us the prompt, The Rotten Egg, your least favourite book. Now, I've read plenty of bad books and badly written books, and rather than protest about a book because characters seem inexplicably to love Pilgrim's Progress, I thought I'd talk about a book that, while it is excellently written and I really enjoy the author, and it's just a book that, almost damaged me psychologically, perhaps. Not good for my mental health. And that is Patricia Highsmith's This Week's Sickness. This is a moderately battered copy. It would have been even more battered if I hadn't originally listened to the book on audio, because I would have flung this book across the room. I actually had to get up and walk around and stop listening to the book while I was listening to it. Patricia Highsmith is an expert in delving into the psychological makeup of very disturbed minds. So when you get into the mind of the fantasist and, well, stalker in this book, it's not a nice place to be, and it's not an enjoyable place to be. This is not in any way a bad book. In fact, it's a very, very good book. But it was such a disturbing read that when you tell me to pick a book you don't like, this is kind of the one that I first thought of. For Seven Swans Are Swimming, we have the prompt, show a book with water on the cover. And, well, I've read almost the whole series, so Patrick O'Brien's first Master and Commander, the first in his Aubrey Maturin series of books. Maybe a little bit boy's own for some people's tastes, but this is, having read a number of other sort of Napoleonic sea sagas like Hornblower and Alexander Kent's books, this series really is the best of the lot. I was rather annoyed with the Eight Maids of Milking. This is to pick your favourite fictional food, because I came up with what I thought was a clever idea. Then I watched another person's video for this challenge, and they picked exactly the same book for exactly the same reason. And that is Kenneth Grahame's Wind in the Willows. This does not have any unfamiliar or really fictional foods, but it is the delight in the food and the delight and the way that food is used in the book that is really very comforting, and really tells you a lot about, what we feel about food. We use food not just for nutrition or for taste, but also to build relationships, to build friendships. And it is about the sort of the companionship of food in this book as much as anything else, and the way that they describe the deliciousness and the fun and the enjoyment of eating the food, which is so important in this book. It does have a very strange chapter involving the great god Pan, which is never in any of the adaptations. The Gift of Nine Ladies Dancing, which is your favourite dancing scene. Obviously, we go back to Pride and Prejudice, don't we? But we're not doing Pride and Prejudice. I was going to use this author for another prompt, but I decided to include him here, and that is So Long, Thanks for All the Fish by Douglas Adams. This is the fourth in his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. It's one of his most personal novels. It was all about his falling in love for the first time and things like that. Now, this is not so much people in a ballroom having a gavotte. It's more erotic aerial ballet, perhaps, but I think it still counts as dancing. The Gift Hens Lords of Leaping gives us a favourite book-to-movie adaptation. Now, there are lots of obvious ones, and I thought I'd pick one that, when I read the book, long after seeing the movie it's based on, I really appreciated the movie a lot more, and that is The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis. We've seen a lot of Walter Tevis recently because of the Queen's Gambit, which came out recently, and also I think there's a TV series based on The Man Who Fell to Earth. But this, is, of course, is the from the cover is the classic version Nicholas Roeg film starring David Bowie. Like I said, it's fairly close to the book, the film, but it just enriched the experience both ways when I read the book. For 11 Pipers Piping is again a book-to-movie adaptation, but this time to pick your favourite soundtrack from a book-to-movie adaptation. And I was going to do a placeholder here, a bit of a cheat, and then I remembered a favourite scene from a movie, and therefore I picked Ashenden by W. Somerset Maugham. The movie in question is The Secret Agent, which is a early, 1936 Hitchcock movie starring John Gielgud and Madeleine Carroll. Now, Alfred Hitchcock was a pioneer of sound in Britain, in British cinema. He probably made the first British sound film, which was Blackmail. And 8 years later, he does The Secret Agent. And in particular, there's a scene where Madeleine Carroll's character is sitting in an open-air restaurant and is listening to some Swiss folk songs being sung by a choir, and she has just started to realise that the spying game can be immensely brutal and unpleasant, and she's very tense and very upset, and she's feeling like she's just about to explode. And the choir start using a coin being rolled around a ceramic mixing bowl, and it produces this sort of drone, this sort of high-pitched droning, buzzing sound behind the song, and that really adds to the tension that she's feeling in the scene. Hitchcock was really good with not only with sound, but also a lot of his soundtracks in general are very good. He had a very good choice of music. The actual soundtrack for The Secret Agent isn't all that good, but it does have some really wonderful themes in it and some really wonderful uses of sound. 12 Drummers Drumming is the last line of the song, The Last Gift, and therefore the prompt is to talk about your favourite ending of a book. Again, we know which one that one would probably be, but I chose I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. This is such a wonderful book. It's very gentle. It's a lot of fun. It's a young girl living living near a derelict castle, and living in sort of genteel poverty with her rather bohemian family. And it's about her growing up and falling in love. We get a nice, satisfactory ending, and it's a very, joyous book in the end. The good end good, and there aren't that many bad people in it. So those are my 12 Pride and Prejudice free choices for this challenge. I hope you enjoyed them.